Welcome to the narrated guide to the ZA Timed Run post-patch 2.4. The goal of this is to help you get a bear mount. The complicating factor is different groups go into ZA all the time, and I can really only go over one particular form with a demonstration video. To try and offset this, I'm going to discuss several varieties that aren't actually being displayed on screen. But my hope is, by giving you this narration, you'll be able to watch and listen at the same time and hopefully learn a bit about the timed event run and what you can do to be successful at it. The first thing to cover is raid makeup. In this example, Group 1 is a Rogue, Beastmaster Hunter, Resto Druid, Feral Druid, and Protection Paladin. Group 2 consists of a Moonkin, a Warlock, an Elemental Shaman, a Circle of Healing Priest, and a Shadow Priest. The two things I think that can make the biggest difference in raid makeup for a guild that does not have a very high gear level is the healer count and your tank makeup. In terms of healer count, do not take 3 healers, but just take 2. My recommendations would be take 1 AoE healer, be it a Resto Shaman or a Circle of Healing Priest, and a Resto Druid, because the heal over times are just completely overpowered for this event. In terms of tank makeup, one of your tanks should have the capability with a gear swap to be able to do DPS instead of tanking for those elements where we only need one tank on the run. In this example, that would be the Feral Druid. Another thing I would recommend for any raid, but especially an under-geared raid, would be the full use of consumables. Mana users should have mana pots, melee classes should have health pots, people should be using relevant elixirs or flasks, weapons should have oil on them. You just do the whole shebang. The reason for this is a lot of your gear gap can be made up with these temporary items, and so using them can result in several minutes of saved time due to the increased power of DPS and the decreased need for healers to regain their mana by resting. The first boss one heads towards is the Eagle boss. The Gauntlet tries to delay you with continuously spawning adds that will not stop until you pull the final mob at the top of the steps leading to the Eagle. The trick to getting behind that is simply to push aggressively forward as fast as you can. In our example, we start with the second pair of mobs before we actually begin to engage in a fight. The idea being that we can AoE control them and kill them and then continue to progress up the gauntlet. Other guilds start even further up than this. You should go with whatever you're comfortable with, but remember that the less pairs you take on initially, the slower you're probably going to go to get through this because the more adds are going to come and you're going to have to manage those. I really enjoy taking a Protection Paladin for the timed event run, and the Eagle's Gauntlet is a prime example as to why. The use of Consecrate when the DPS and healers stand within it is an excellent way to pick up the adds which might otherwise be overlooked by tanks who are distracted with what their current targets are. The Eagle boss is a fairly straightforward fight. It only requires one tank, and in this case we're using Protection Paladin for that, and the Feral Druid is shifting into a DPS role to help speed things along. To deal with Electrical Storm, I have the raid converge upon the boss approximately 10 seconds before it can happen. The reason we do this is to avoid player error in terms of trying to identify where they need to actually run, and so that DPS can continue focused until it's time to run back out. Stack Disruption is one of those abilities that emphasizes why having an AoE healer can simplify things. Circle of Healing and Chain Healing both shine in this fight. In terms of the bird adds, my recommendation is to completely ignore them. Killing them does not contribute to defeating the boss, they disappear when the boss dies anyway, and no matter how many you kill, the same number are always back out again after he concludes his electrical storm. There's not a whole lot to say regarding bear boss trash. Trolls that drop totems should have their totems taken out as soon as possible. Many of these mobs can get CC'd, and it's a good idea to use what CC you have to make things easier. When you're dealing with the actual bears, separate them out. As you may have noticed also back on the Eagle boss, this raid is not waiting to drink up before engaging the boss. This is one of those areas where a lot of people lose time during this event. If you can get by without drinking, and generally that means as long as your healers have mana, go ahead and engage on the boss. Everyone ideally should be carrying mana pots that uses mana anyway, and it's just a waste of time to sit and let them consume water.
The bear boss is a tank and spank fight that only has a couple complications. The first is when he is in bear form and deafening roar silences the raid. Your healers need to be prepared for this by topping off the tank ahead of time, and again, this is one of the reasons why I really like taking a Resto Druid on the run. The other complication occurs when there's a taunt failure and one tank has to continue holding the boss for a while. Having one of your hybrids throw heals to help the two main healers can really get you through that sort of situation. I find that the Dragonhawk trash is easily the worst trash in the entire zone, for two reasons. The prime one is the use of the scouts that constantly are spawning and patrolling around the area. What I have the raid do is always keep their eyes out, rotating their cameras and looking for those scouts. If anyone sees one, they announce the scout and the direction it's coming from so that the raid can prepare to deal with it. The scouts have to die first because you're going to have a major time sap if you have to deal with their spawned reinforcements. The other nasty element to Dragonhawk trash are the flame casters. With a 2-healer setup, again, the AoE flame moves can really start to overwhelm the situation, especially when you're having to manage other mobs. Besides the scouts, we prioritize flamecaster deaths as our #1 goal, or have them crowd controlled. In this case on the run, you'll notice that I tend to use mind control on them, both to exploit their AoE fire move to help take down the other trolls, and to keep them in line so that there isn't a problem with us having to sustain a lot of fire damage while killing everything. There is an avoidable patrol that heads up the small steps towards the Dragonhawk boss. If you can avoid it, great, but if the timing is not right, I find that it is actually faster to go ahead and kill this patrol rather than sit there and wait for it to move out of your way. The final Dragonhawk trash pull can be overwhelming because it is a lot of damage. What we like to do is use a mind control to initially do the pull. Everyone else runs up to the steps while the mind controlled mob dies. I like to mind control the flamecaster mob again to remove an AoE fire element from our midst, and from there it's a 1-by-1 takeout sort of situation. There are many different ways to get through the Dragonhawk boss fight. Because I'm using a Protection Paladin as one of the tanks, that's the method I'm going to explain. For this setup, the Feral Druid is the main tank, and the Protection Paladin handles the spawned adds from the eggs. We hatch one side of eggs at a time, the Protection Paladin drops the Consecrate and picks up the adds while the DPS takes them out. This method works a lot better since patch 2.4, because the Dragonhawk boss no longer teleports everybody on top of him before he begins to throw his fire bombs. Thus, the Protection Paladin is able to stay in place and continue to use Consecrate and his other aggro building moves on the Dragonhawk spawns, and everything stays a lot more controlled than it used to. A couple of tricks regarding the healing. The first is his Enrage mode, which will happen no matter what because it also triggers off of a low hit point situation. Healers need to be prepared to keep the main tank up when that happens. Before then, keeping the main tank sustained usually is a pretty simple affair. The second aspect is dealing with flame breath damage on the rest of the raid. Ideally, your raid needs to stay spread out, but when dealing with the Dragonhawk spawns, it can be a little bit difficult, especially for a melee group. For a ranged group such as this, it is usually pretty easy to order them to stay spread apart from each other, and flame breath damage can be minimized. After the Dragonhawk boss's death is when you really need to look and evaluate how much time you have remaining. If you're at under 12 minutes left, you're probably not going to succeed in getting a bear mount. If you're over 20 minutes left, you're probably going to find it a pretty easy event to conclude. If you're somewhere in between, you need to keep an eye on the clock, you need to keep that in mind so you can know when you need to push and when to be safe and try and do things that are a little bit stable. The reason why it comes up at this point is 1, there's only one boss left, and 2, around this time is when your buffs such as food are probably going to start falling, and if you get the opportunity, you need to figure out if you can refresh them, and if so, where you need to do it. On this raid, we decided to refresh food buffs just before beginning the pulls of the Lynx boss trash. Going through the hut to get to the Lynx boss is a great way to save some minutes because you actually reduce the number of pulls you have.
is probably the biggest strategic time saver that exists in terms of how you can move your raid through the zone. Pull the invisible kitty pack and take care of it. As you can see, I have marked the troll patrol that's going to be dodged. Make sure everyone runs through, jumps through the window of the hut, goes through the other window, mounts up, and heads towards where the croc pack is. To deal with the patrol that has the tamed crocs with it, focus on killing the tamed crocs first. The reason is because they randomly can be focused on anyone in the raid, and if it's a cloth-wearing class, they usually die pretty fast. There's nothing the tanks can do about it. So take those out first, and if you've got enough DPS, you can actually burn through them before they're even focused on anyone. Beast Tamers can be very frustrating for a raid going through this section. Shamans and priests need to be watching for and ready to remove the mind controls when they occur. The other thing I would recommend is to have one tank control both Beast Tamers when you have two at a time. The reason for this is you run the risk of having one Beast Tamer mind controlling the other Beast Tamer's tank, and then that Beast Tamer is loose if you're actually using a two-tank setup on this. The trash inside the Lynx boss's temple isn't that bad, you just have to really be situationally aware of what's going on. There is a roaming patrol in there. If it's close, wait for it. If it's far away, go ahead and work on the stationary packs first. Each stationary pack has a flame caster. Crowd control it or burn it down first to avoid its AoE damage. In our case, again, I'm using mind control so that I can have it help take out the other mobs.
The Lynx boss itself is a pretty straightforward fight so long as you keep straight what moves he can do during his first and second phases. Phase 1 really only has a couple of concerns. The first is the Saber Lash that both of the tanks are going to be taking damage from. Healers need to top those tanks off as soon as possible so that when the next Saber Lash comes, they're able to keep the tanks alive. The second situation is the use of Frenzy. Having a Hunter simplifies this because of Tranquilizing Shot. However, the Lynx boss has sustained nerfs from previous patches, and he is no longer nearly as difficult to heal through during the Frenzy mode if you did not bring a Hunter with you. Phase 2 shakes things up a bit. Protection Paladin in this case is grabbing the spirit mob that is spawned. DPS is staying on the main boss because aggro is already established and dots are already in place. A Priest or Paladin needs to be watching for Flame Shock during Phase 2, and the entire raid needs to be spread in such a manner that the Priest or Paladin can actually reach them to remove the dot. The final complicating issue in Phase 2 is the Corrupted Lightning Totem. This needs to die fast because it can overwhelm your healers in short order. Having a macro that helps you target the Corrupted Totem can be very helpful for a DPS class on this fight. Phase 1 and Phase 2 alternate and stay exactly the same until the final Phase 1 form, where the boss can still drop a Corrupted Lightning Totem. Assuming all goes well, you should be able to defeat the Lynx boss and have enough time to release the annoying gnome and get your bear mount. And that's really all there is to it. There are a lot of different builds that work in this zone, and I know I've covered a very ranged-focused one that happens to have a certain type of CC, namely mind control, and lacks some other things that are very popular with other groups, like additional shamans or the uses of mages. There are some other video guides out there that might be able to give you some additional suggestions if what I've said hasn't been very helpful to you, but I'm hoping I've given you enough to think about that you'll be able to go in and learn some things about the run, and hopefully go in and get your bear mount.